This is your host, Coach Dwayne Carlisle, and you're listening to the Pursuit of Excellence podcast, episode number 12, titled Sports Nutrition for Parents of Youth Athletes, brought to you by Carlisle Performance Systems, located in San Jose, California, the place where even the best athletes are made better. Last week, we had over 4,000 downloads, and if you were one of those who downloaded the episode, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. Please head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review the show. It would mean a lot to us. In addition, we'd love to hear from you on social media at Coach Dwayne Carlisle on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Now, on to the show. Our guest is Dr. Cathy Saenz. She's an assistant professor at Jacksonville University in the area of sports nutrition and exercise. In addition, she just finished a postdoc for the Cleveland Indians in the area of sports science and sports nutrition. She recently received her PhD from The Ohio State University in exercise and sports nutrition. So as you can see, she has a phenomenal background marrying exercise and sports nutrition. We cover topics that are very near and dear to parents. The number one question I get from parents all the time is, what should my child eat before a game? What should they eat during the game? And then how should I fuel them after the game? Well, we unpack all of those topics. You will leave this podcast with actionable strategies in the area of what should they eat before. You'll receive actionable strategies relating to sleep and the importance thereof. You'll receive actionable strategies if you have a female athlete. How should you go about helping to support your child nutritionally when they're going through a menstrual cycle? These are topics that we cover on to the show. And here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Cathy Saenz. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, I've only had 9 or 10 episodes, and you've been my guest twice. So I thank you. Right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I believe that nutrition is so important that you cannot out-train poor nutrition. How do you feel about that, Doc?
Yeah, you cannot outrun a bad diet. It's classic, classic, classic.
Yeah, no question. Doc, let's talk about your journey and how you have arrived at where you are now, which is at Jacksonville University as an assistant professor. So talk to us about how you got involved in the whole field of sports nutrition.
Oh, absolutely. So I grew up being very active. I danced my entire life, but I also had a food allergy that wasn't found until much, much later in life. However, because I had that food allergy, I had a lot of deficiencies. I always had to be careful with what I ate. I was always very sensitive to a lot of things. So I'm an athlete, but I always had to be careful with what I ate. I didn't put two and two together that I really liked nutrition. I thought what I really liked was performance. So once I got to college, I had the opportunity to be a kinesiology major at the University of Maryland. I got to experience work in the athletics department, in research in the ex-phys lab. It was incredible. And what I learned was that you could train really hard and you could use safe supplements to push your performance even higher. I loved it. It spoke to me. It took me all the way to grad school at the University of Connecticut under Dr. Jeff Volek. And it was there that I learned you can mix physiology, nutrition, and really play around with all those parameters to optimize not just performance, but health. And that journey took me into my doctorate, which is where I got to experience things like work in the microbiome, work in epigenetics. So it's basically how our environment affects our genes. I got to work in diet manipulation, specifically ketogenic diets.
Wow.
And I learned that there's just a huge, huge impact that nutrition and exercise have on the body. And it can hurt you, it can help you, it can affect you every single moment. It's huge. Affects your sleep, affects your mood. It affects everything.
Now, Doc,
It was
Doc, I could tell you this. If you're out at a function, happy hour or somewhere, somebody asks you what you do and that you break out with epigenetics, that is a conversation piece.
It's fancy. And not just any, but we're talking about this in the athletic world.
Right.
It's exciting.
It is. It is.
It's exciting. And you're talking about athletes. So we got to do this incredible project called the Faster Project, where we studied top tiered ultra endurance athletes.
Okay.
We're talking some that were at Olympic trials. They were sponsored. They were top crop, and their competitive edge at that level, one of them is nutrition. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how important it was.
Yeah. Now, moving on, you talked about Dr. Jeff Volek, who's world renowned in his field. You also worked under Dr. Bill Kramer when you went to Ohio State. Is that correct?
I did. So I worked with both. I got to learn from both of them, both during my master's at the University of Connecticut and during my doctorate, which I finished at the Ohio State University, because they were able to bring me to the university when the lab transferred there. So I got to learn, and not it was them. It was Dr. Carl Marish. It was the Lawrence Dr. Armstrong, who's enormous in the hydration world. There were these professors that were unbelievable at what they did, but even more so, they want to teach students how to continue learning and how to think outside the box and challenge norms to push the limit. So I had unbelievable professors and mentors to learn from. Dr. Volek was my immediate mentor, and then I consider all the other ones close professors that I continue to learn from.
And Dr. Kramer, for those who are listening, he was one of the founding fathers of the National Strength and Conditioning Association. And he's the one who's instrumental in getting me to pursue a certification back in the day when I was coaching at Penn State.
I did not know that.
Know
wow.
that? Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Kramer he is foundational. If you're in the strength and conditioning world, you must know his name.
No doubt.
It's unbelievable the work he's done.
Yeah, he's
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
We used to run together. Very influential. I was first year coach at Penn State, and that's when we started, or they started the Penn State Sports Medicine Clinic. It was the first one of its kind at a major university, and the resources that they offered to the student athletes, they were way ahead of the time. Sports psych. Dr. Chris Clark, sports nutrition. She's still there, I think. And yeah, it was phenomenal. So we share some commonalities, but the biggest one we share is the fact that we're Terps.
Tell him.
This is a Terp podcast right now.
It might as well be.
Yeah. So
is Marilyn listening out there?
Yeah. So let's get ready, folks. We're gonna dive into a topic. It's a hot button. It has been for years because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Parents always ask, coaches always ask about supplementation. What are your immediate thoughts when you hear the term supplementation as a registered dietitian?
You know what? Supplements get a lot of bad rep. I mean, people hear supplements and they automatically think like we have to use whole and fresh foods. And there's some really great professors in the sports nutrition world that have said, you know what, food is fantastic. Yes, let's get our main nutrients from there. But athletes move above and beyond in their body demands. Supplements allow you to get that without maybe the extra calories that you might not need, or they can do it if it's safe supplementation, which is the key. Safe supplementation, then you get good, clean products that can really aid your health and performance and reduce injury risk. So it can be great.
All right, so tell me this, what does safe supplementation mean?
Safe supplementation. So a couple different things that we can talk about there. One, the type of supplement itself. So we can run through some big ones, especially for this age group. But two, making sure that supplement is tested by a third party. So if you're going to pick up anything, it's tough to just pick up. I mean, you hear horror stories about what they put into some of that stuff. So there are companies out there that will test your supplements and ensure and give you some peace of mind that what the label says is actually what's in it and the quantities that are in it, and they are safe to be consumed. Because supplements are not regulated in the United States. Right. So you do have to approach it cautiously, but once you have a better idea of what's out there, I mean, they can be a really strong part of your whole nutrition program.
Is there a source that I can go to? Is there a website? If my kid wants to take a supplement, is there a place I can go to determine whether or not that supplement is legal?
Yes. There are clean sport. There's clean athlete and safe for sport. I'm blanking on the name. Can you fill in the blanks there? There's what is the one that they all?
I'd love to help you. I
But
think
yes, there are companies on there, and I talk about this every single day, so I can't believe I'm
sure.
blanking on it. But there are. I'm gonna have to get back to you on exactly what the name is
And we'll
because
put
there's
that
a few
we'll put that in the
reputable
show
companies.
notes. We will put that in the
Yes,
show notes for sure.
yes. I'm so sorry, but there are reputable companies that test the supplements. Go there, find out what products that they've tested, and feel free to continue exploring.
Some of the popular ones out there, creatine. Right.
Yes,
A lot of males like to take creatine. First off,
yes.
what does it do? And secondly, what is your recommendation as it relates to taking that product?
Great, great question. So creatine is actually natural in the body. I think that needs to be put out there, especially because creatine is another one that people get nervous around. If done properly, creatine is fantastic. It allows you to increase strength. It allows you to be explosive. It allows you to be powerful. It allows for better recovery, an increase in muscle mass specifically, which can improve your body composition. And for the athletes out there that are power athletes, improve your body to weight, help improve body to weight ratio or power to weight ratio. So creatine has a fantastic place in sport. Um, it gets a bad rep because a lot of people felt that it might have organ issues, it could overload the kidneys. People said that there were issues with it with dehydration. There have been mounds of research done for creatine, male, female, different age groups, different populations. It is an enormous world. And what they find is you can take creatine safely. There are different ways to take creatine. There are different forms. So I'm talking about creatine monohydrate specifically. And some people do a loading phase when they go to take it. Other people do what's called the maintenance phase, where they just take a little bit each day. For those types of specifics, then we'd have to talk further. But for general information, creatine can be very safe for the body. It's naturally producing, so you're just putting in a little bit more, and it can aid your performance and recovery. Be totally safe.
Okay, that's great to hear. Now, as a strength and conditioning coach, having been a part of athletes or programs where creatine was endorsed, when we use the loading phase, like back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, loading phase, right? And we'd find that our athletes had gastrointestinal issues, that have issues around cramping. And then we went to the no load, the maintenance, as you called it, and those issues went away. And we saw performance gains as it related to short-term energy supply, power.
That's right. So power, explosiveness, strength. So that's the other thing about creatine. Creatine, it's also been researched and found there are responders and non-responders. So if you are a responder, you will see these types of benefits. But some people even loading up on more creatine because, as I said, it's already in the body. So if you're tapped out on your levels, or to be honest, I'm not sure the exact mechanism why you may not react to creatine supplementation. But if you're not going to respond, it's okay. There are other supplements out there that can aid you.
Okay.
But if you do, you can do it safely.
Let's talk vitamin D.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's one that was not talked about years ago. Not at all.
So what are your thoughts on vitamin D?
Vitamin D, it is so vital to the body, especially for growing athletes, because huge role in bone health. And vitamin D actually, sometimes they don't even want to call it a vitamin because it does so many things in the body metabolically. So it's got a huge role in mood. It's got a role in general health. It has a role in your neurological path. I mean, it's enormous what it touches. The most common way to get it is through the sun.
Yeah.
So you have to do that safely, obviously making sure you get safe sun exposure. However, folks like myself that have darker skin, we may not absorb vitamin D as efficiently. The best way to know whether you have enough or not is a blood test, which your physician can talk you through.
Yeah.
If you find that your vitamin D deficient, then you can discuss how to go ahead and supplement. See, another great example. Go ahead and supplement with it because it's going to be tougher to get from food.
Now, I hate to generalize, but it's been my experience. You'll see a lot of darker skinned athletes receiving vitamin D supplementation And,
Yes, yeah.
and particularly in cold weather climates. Has that been
Yeah,
your experience?
yes, absolutely. It's been my experience, and at least in the locations that I've been, they have gotten a blood test beforehand.
Sure.
So the reason why the blood test is so important is because vitamins and minerals in general, if you want to know you're deficient, the way to find out is through a blood test. You may have symptoms, you may suspect, but you can know for sure if you see what's going inside the body.
Yeah.
Vitamin D has to be calculated that way.
Okay, Doc, give me another supplement. If you're putting together a supplementation program for an athlete, what is your approach going to be to make sure that they're supplemented safely? And aside from, say, a vitamin D and or creatine, if you were to suggest that based on that athlete's needs, what other supplements would you recommend?
So this is just going to be across the board. We didn't analyze you at all. We don't know if you're missing something. The most obvious, whey protein, without a doubt.
Okay.
It is going to be safe for any athlete, unless, I mean, you always have to put that asterisk, if you have any reasons your physician has told you not to. Whey supplementation and whey protein, I mean, they're just incredible for the body. It is quick absorbing, easy on the GI system, allows you to build muscle right away. Recovery will be big. Your performance will be ready to go. It's good for health reasons. I mean, it should be part of an athlete's packet.
Okay.
Now, if you are a vegan athlete or anything of that nature, if whey isn't part of foods you're ready or able to consume, then a protein supplement. That's what I would say.
Any particular strategies that you adopt as it relates to supplementing male versus female athletes?
Oh, that's a really good question. So a big one, especially for women, would be making sure calcium, iron, and vitamin B12. Because at that age, especially high school, college, and above, if you're getting your period, that's vitally important to supplement any nutrients. And if you're not getting your period, that could be the reason why. And we got to investigate. Female athlete triad is an enormous issue, and it affects so many women. And one of the ways to really, really attack the issue is through food and building a healthy relationship with food and finding the nutrients that you need for your sport.
How do you evaluate or assess a female athlete that may be suffering from that type of condition? What would your path be?
That is a really great question. So women, especially as they, especially late teenage years into early 20 years, you're starting to get your period, you're starting to get more athletic as well and really grow in your sport. So demands may be higher. One of the big things that may hit is you stop getting your period or it becomes really spotty. So that's something that the female athlete herself would be able to assess. Another thing that maybe parents or a coach or friends may notice is fatigue. You feel tired, you're not sleeping well, recovery is slow, and those injuries start to creep in. Shin splints, it can be anything bone related, muscle strains, and those things in combination could indicate we need further testing, see what's going on blood wise.
Any particular sport that would create a predisposed condition for those kind of things happening?
I'm not sure if I would say predisposed, but the sports where you see it commonly are in your high energy expenditure sports.
Okay.
So cross country,
Okay.
track and field, maybe even soccer, explosive, high energy, you are working at it on the field. Those are the ones that are most commonly seen, dancers as well, but that doesn't mean it can't happen to any of the women in any of their sports. That's just where it's commonly discussed.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah, but you've got to keep it. I mean, the reality is that and all of that can be managed or at least reduced by proper eating.
Okay.
So adequate calories and the right type of calories.
So speaking of the right type of calories, I know that you did a postdoc for the Cleveland Indians, and I understand it was an exciting experience for you. And one of the many skill sets that you have is that you were bilingual. And so I know that you spent a lot of time with the Cleveland Indians minor league teams or minor league system in Dominican Republic, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
all right, see. So look, let's do this. I need you to speak a little, coach me up a little bit in Spanish, all right? So I'm going to ask you a question and then bring it back to me in Spanish.
Oh, all right. All
Okay,
right.
okay. Doc.
Do you want me to also translate it?
Yeah. Doc,
Yeah.
what should my plate look like to reinforce it being a healthy meal?
Plato deportivo debe tener variedad, debe tener algo de proteína, algo de grasas saludables y vegetales y frutas.
Sí, sí.
So, yeah, yeah, hopefully that also means they're going to make their plate that way. But that's usually the response I get, like, yeah. But what I said was, you want variety. You just did a lot. So you want a good protein source, a good fat source, and plenty of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And then, of course, we can talk about where the carb sources are there, but I didn't get to that part in Spanish yet.
Nice. only thing I know is muy rápido. Muy rápido. That's it. So now on that note, let's talk a little bit about the differences in ethnicities as it relates to food choices and just cultural things, right? In the Latin countries, what types of foods do they like as compared to kids in the United States?
Oh, yes. I actually worked with this fantastic professor at the University of Connecticut, and she works a lot in community wellness, and she brought me into working in Spanish-speaking communities, Dr. Ana Gomez, and she's the one that first introduced me to working in Spanish-speaking communities. And from there, with the postdoc, I was able to do it even more. And I realized that I was very naive to how different people ate because I was so used to seeing Latin food in my house. And it is very different working with cultures. And with the Cleveland Indians, I got to work with Latin American athletes that were born in the US, and then athletes that were born overseas in different parts of Asia.
Okay.
Completely different cultures. And it was eye-opening to know that some of my message would get missed purely on, we don't eat that. So, for example, the athletes that were coming from Asia eat cooked veggies. So when I was talking about building a salad, that was like, all right, we'll do it, but I'm not gonna do it naturally.
Yeah,
like you really got to teach me.
Pull teeth.
Yes, and same for Latin American athletes. Food is what you miss when you're traveling. When you're out and you're away from home, you miss mom's cooking.
Yeah.
And that's true for everybody. So you get young kids in the minor league system, and it's a grind, and it's a very exciting time, but you're now eating whatever they serve you, or you can cook. And what you know how to cook is rice, beans, and chicken.
Yeah.
And that may not be, and it's certain type of rice, it's a certain type of beans, it's certain type of sauces and combinations of foods. And that's not what you may find in all parts of the country when they're on the road and they're traveling and they've got a really tough schedule. So it was really cool for me to get to hear where they're coming from, especially the Spanish-speaking athletes. Being able to talk to someone in your own language when you're in a foreign country was enormous. And then I was able to help them say, okay, what you guys will expect to see in the States will be these type of plates.
Got you.
These type of foods taste similar to something you may recognize at home. So don't be too scared to try it. These types of foods have these type of nutrients in them. You might have never seen some of this before, or you might not see the things you're used to. So this is what the grocery store will look like. This is what it may cost in that nature. And also, one of the coaches in the Indian system, incredible coach, what he had his Latin American athletes cook for the team so that he could show the American athletes, like, look how different the cuisine can be.
Wow.
But we can be healthy on all sides. So it was really cool.
Oh, that's really cool. So
yeah, it was awesome.
You mentioned the term travel. Let's dial it back a little bit to the parent who's supporting their athletic child, right? Let's say the kid's 9 years old, 10, 11, 12, doesn't matter, up through high school. And what we typically see, let's take a practice, for example. After a practice, Normally, you'll have a parent that'll pass out candy, they'll pass out
Yeah.
bars, they'll pass out something, or in between a game, they might pass out a snack and it's high in sugar. Well,
Hmm.
let me give you this example. Me and my sons, we are working a camp together. It's awesome. Us three coaching up 60 kids, and we get there. So we work from 3:30 5:30. From 3 o'clock to 3:30, they have break from their camp. They're at the camp all day. And what do you think they get for a snack? Sugar.
Yes.
So when we get them, they are wound. And I've tried to explain to the lady that, you know what, you're doing us a disservice.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
want to talk about a couple things. One, what should a pregame meal look like? What should you feed them during a game? What should the feed look like post game? And if they have multiple games in a day, what are some strategies that you can do to make sure that they're fueled and they're ready to go for the next game?
Oh, yeah. So I'd say the recommendations for especially a high school athlete are going to be very similar to what the family may want to eat. Because that's the other part. If you're that age, mostly you're eating with your family. You're not at the same level of independence as a college athlete. So, a high quality protein source across the board. The whole family needs it, and especially that growing athlete. Because they're an athlete, they're putting on certain demands of the sport, and they are growing as we speak.
What's a high quality
So,
protein?
high quality proteins are going to be animal sources of protein. So eggs are the highest quality protein. The only thing higher would be whey, which is why I said it's such a good protein source. But egg is going to be great. Dairy is going to be great. Beef, pork, chicken, fish. All of these are really great sources. We have a lot of plant-based families and plant-based athletes. So what you can do is get protein sources from things like beans, eggs if you feel comfortable eating that, if they're not vegan, cheese, dairy, yogurt, things like that, and supplement with B12 to make sure you're getting those essential nutrients that maybe not might not are only found in meat is what I'm trying to say. So a high quality protein source. The second thing would be a good source of fat. That's going to surprise a lot of people, but the reason I say that is because fat is an essential nutrient, meaning you have to get it from the diet. And especially for this age group, really important for muscle health, brain health, and recovery. So those are all things you want to. Now, I'm not talking about fat like Twinkies and donuts,
Hmm.
and you're going to load up on all, no trans fats. I'm talking about great sources of fat, which could include things like olive oils, avocado oil, um, coconut oil in small amounts, nuts, fatty cuts, some fatty cuts of meat, seafood, things of that nature. So it's okay if it's coming from a whole food source. It's encouraged. You just have to make sure it's the right portion for that athlete.
Okay, so look,
And
it's game day. It's game
yeah,
day, right? I
I
got
go
I got
too
to get
hard.
up.
Yeah.
I got to get up. I'm a parent. Johnny, Susie, get up. We got to go. What do I feed them? They got a game coming up in 2 hours. What do I feed them? What do I feed them during the game? What do I feed them after the game?
You want to get a good breakfast in them. If it's 2 hours before the game, let's get a good breakfast in them.
And what's
So
good?
every meal is going to have some protein, some fat, some carb, and that's where the decisions start to come. So you can have eggs that they can scarf down in the car, eggs, some sort of breakfast meats, and maybe some fruit on the side. If it's a hungry athlete, so we've got our hungry athletes coming up, have a side of some steel cut oats, put some peanut butter in it, they're going to be good to go. If they're hungry right before they go to compete, something a little more gentle. So some fruit might be better there. They can scarf it down and get ready to go.
What if
The
they
details are going to be sport specific, but
what if they don't like it?
yeah,
What do
they
you
don't like it at
do?
all.
Mom,
I'm
I
thinking,
don't like apples or
right. I hate all. I really like the response of, okay, what do you want to eat? Like, yeah, I want to eat healthy. And what do you want to do? I don't eat vegetables. I don't eat fruit. No, this is gonna be tough then.
yeah, yeah,
This is gonna
yeah.
be tough.
Yeah.
A protein shake. Toss them a protein shake to start. And if you make it at home, you can sneak in things like spinach. You can sneak in things. Actually, people sneak beets in there. You can sneak in veggies for those picky eaters that don't want to eat them in their meals. Throw them in the protein shake.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, Doc, we're gonna role play right now. You want to role play?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
I'm gonna be that athlete. When I say that athlete, I'm gonna be that athlete. I'm a superstar. All right, I'm a superstar athlete. Gang, for those listeners, I'm not saying I'm a superstar. We're role playing. I'm a superstar athlete, okay? And you're just going to coach me through. And I'm going to present things that I have heard, things I've witnessed coming out of athletes' mouths as it relates to sports nutrition, all right?
Ready.
So let me give you a little context. I am a 16-year-old hooper, and I am getting D1 interest from everywhere.
Woo.
I can jump out the moon, right? Dunk any way you want it. I stay up at night. I'm on Snap. I'm on Instagram. I'm doing my thing all night, all right? So I'm not getting rest. And on top of that, I look good. I got a six-pack abs. I look good. Right?
Being young is so forgiving.
Isn't it
really
though?
is.
Isn't it? Isn't it? So now enter Dr. Cathy Saenz. She's hired by my AAU basketball organization. Although there's some rules that you can't do that anymore. However, you're hired by the organization as our sports nutritionist. And you sit down with me. What's the first question that you ask me?
First question I'm going to ask you is, do you want to be the best?
Ooh.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. I do. I do, Doc. Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
I want to be
a
lotto pick.
And I'm going to ask you, do you want to train hard?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get my game.
I might even ask you, do you train hard? Do you train hard?
Yeah. I train hard. I'm in the gym. Spend about 3 hours in there, put up about 500 plus shots, work on my handle, play pickup every day.
Every day. So you're working hard on the court. When you're on the court, are you grinding?
Oh, I'm grinding. That's all I know. I get my grind on every day, dog.
And you're doing drills, you're doing all the lessons you got to do. You're taking coach serious. You're a good teammate. You're working hard.
I try to be. I'm working on it.
Can you eat a couple carrots?
You know what? I ain't really feeling carrots, but
that's usually the response. It'll be, I want to be the best. I want to go. I want to be a champion. You trying to be a champion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to eat a couple of cucumbers on the side of whatever you're about to get?
Doc, cucumber? What's that?
Right. Yeah. They say, no, I'm trying to get big. I'm trying to get gains. I'm not trying to lose any muscle. I think, yeah, you're going to eat a little bit of lettuce, something green, maybe some spinach. Let's get crazy and add some kale. You going to do that?
What, you think I'm Popeye or something?
People start hesitating real hard.
Yeah.
You going to have some broccoli, maybe a little cauliflower if you're feeling adventurous. Yeah, it's a lot of hesitation there.
Hey, Doc, look, I'm next up on the court here, so what you got for me? Can I get a bar or something?
Yeah, it would be a protein bar or protein shake. That's something that's been tested and that is safe to go and probably be whey dominant.
So now, in this approach, Doc, all right, now we're gonna zoom it out. You typically, the response I was giving you is a response that I hear from a lot of athletes.
Always. I just talked today. Yeah, I just got it today.
Yeah. So how do you coach someone through that to guide them to the promised land of eating healthy to drive performance and to drive their overall health needs? How do you get them there?
So lucky for me, I've been coached by fantastic mentors, and I've learned you've got to give that authority to the athlete. And the way to do that is education. So showing them research that's already out there on how vital it is for performance, demonstrating their idols who are already doing it. I mean, we've got big athletic superstars that talk about how nutrition has played a role in everything they do.
LeBron spends millions on his recovery and everything. He spends millions on it.
And he's done so many different types of diets. Like that doesn't come easy. He plays around with it. He finds it. And you're right. And that's what I hope people learn, that you can play around with it. I'm not saying this is the diet, this is how you're going to get better. No, we're just saying be open and realize how important it is. And then let's work together to find what's right for you.
I always find it interesting, and this happens with my adult clients, this happens with my athletes. People want to know, well, what should I eat? And I got a
Mm-hmm.
sneaky feeling that they really know what to eat,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a function of making that choice of what to eat. What has been your experience in dealing with people that have that mindset? How do you get them to that place where they're eating healthy?
So I think we got to take a step back and realize what is eating healthy for that person.
Okay,
There's
okay.
so much nutrition advice out there. If I Google nutrition advice right now, I mean, oh my God, the info that you'll get. So we got to take a step back and realize some basics. Like, number one, you don't need the added sugars. You just don't need it. Number two, try to eat a variety of food and start to realize what works well for you.
Okay.
Most of us do really well on a moderate to low carb diet and some good protein and then fill in fat, whether it's medium to high. Most of us do really well with proper hydration. Are you hydrating well? Is it coming from good sources? Or are you drinking soda all day? That's a problem.
Mhm.
Something that simple. I don't care how much rabbit food you eat a day if all you're also drinking is soda. So there are small things that can be done to improve diet and then finding what works for you to optimize that nutrition. And that's where professionals can help you. But you're right, there are some basics that everybody knows. You probably shouldn't eat sweets every single day. Like, you don't need the candy, you don't need the treats, you don't need the bagel Fridays at the office. Like, that's not needed. Bagel Fridays at school. What you do need are good whole foods in adequate portions for your body. And that's true for every single soul.
Now, the people who want to do the right thing, they really deeply want to adopt strategies that you're talking about. They also want that they also want that cushion to be able to eat some
Yeah.
things that they like, right? So I've
Yeah.
heard the 80-20 principle. Eat 80% clean, and then you have that 20% where you
Yeah.
can go off the track a little bit. What is your thoughts on that?
I think you have to look at your health. There are times in your life that 80/20 is going to fit perfectly. And there are times in your life where you've got to buckle it up. And that's where, going back to this superstar athlete, if you want to be the best, you're training hard in every single area. Why, after practice, would you then scarf down fast food? Why? I thought you wanted to be the best. So there are times where, yes, 80/20 fits. And there are times when maybe right now I want to be a little more careful. And that could be for health reasons or performance reasons, or both
Okay,
in some
I'm
cases.
gonna plead ignorant. I'm that person that doesn't know. So what? I just had a Big Mac. I just had In and Out after practice. How's that gonna affect me? And what should I be eating?
First, the first way it's going to affect you is that after exercise, your body is incredibly sensitive to nutrients. Whatever you put in it, that is what it uses for recovery. And recovery is the name of the game for sports. You want to be ready for your next practice, for your next game load. Because the one that you just finished, that's in the past. Can't do anything about that. What you can do is improve for the next. And that's where nutrition is a foundational part of your recovery, because that's where the body's going to take nutrients to rebuild that muscle, to help manage that stress that comes from exercise, to help your mind and your body refuel the energy it just spent so that you're not losing muscle, you're gaining muscle.
Mm. Okay, so let me ask you this question, Doc. When we look at your typical high school athlete, they have a tendency to eat. They don't have a schedule or routine, right? They just it's just
Yeah.
whatever. Like when you ask them, so when do you eat? What do you mean? When do I eat?
Yeah.
Uh,
When I'm
the,
hungry.
yeah. The number one meal that they miss often is breakfast. What?
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, why shouldn't they miss breakfast?
This is such a good question. And I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. First of all, especially if you're an athlete who tends to lose weight when you don't want to lose weight, breakfast is another excuse to get some good, it's another chance, not excuse, another chance to get some good calories in and help with that recovery from whatever you did the previous day or the previous couple of days. So that's first and foremost. Number two, you just slept for a long time. Your body's ready to jump and get back into it. There are some athletes that say they feel better if they eat a little bit later in the morning. And what I would say to that is if you can then fill in your nutrients for the rest of the day and you're not taxing yourself in the morning, then we're going to work with your personal your personal wants at that point. But the reality is a lot of them, how many athletes have you seen have 6 a.m., 7 a.m. lift and they haven't eaten since, and they're not about to eat till 12.
Right.
Just because it's not for any scientific reason. They're not trying out anything new. They just didn't get food. I'm going to wait till training table. I'm not hungry yet. There are so many reasons. And what I say to those athletes are you're losing a chance to maintain and to grow muscle mass. If it's for other reasons, then let's chat. But if it's just because you're being lazy, then do you want to be a champion?
There you go. Speaking of which, speaking of muscle, right? Most males want to put size on. I don't want to stereotype because there are a lot of female athletes that want to put muscle on as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say in this case, I'm this male that I got to put on 20. I got to put on 25. Yeah. What are the three things that you would say to me to help aid me to put 25 on over a span of 3 months?
Right. First thing is the strength coaches and your athletic team are going to take care of your exercise. So let's get food that matches the demands you're doing and make sure you're eating even adequate calories. And then we can input calories in a smart way to make sure that you're not gaining weight by eating all the junk that you possibly can. So good calories, again, protein, going to be a great source for you. Some good sources of fat. So I said you can get a really awesome meal, add about a tablespoon of olive oil on there, and you're going to get more calories in that little bit than you would eating the same amount of carbs. There's just more calories and fat. And then we're going to get good sources of carbs so we can get volume into you. So it would just be making sure we can space out your food correctly so you don't feel overwhelmed and you're not stuffed and you can't move. And then when it comes to where those foods are spaced out correctly, where are they coming from? Do we have good quality nutrients to help support the gains you're trying to get?
Now, does body type factor into it? Mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, in terms of my ability to put muscle on?
So there is a lot of work in the framing aspect. And to be honest, I haven't worked much in those areas, but I do know that if you train correctly and eat correctly, then yeah, we can get some muscle on you.
Okay. Now, here's another common question. I want 6-pack abs. Yeah. What do I need to do, right? And the first thing that they think about is doing an excessive amount of crunches.
All day, every day.
All day. Just
all day. It's
Instagram,
crazy thing.
right? They go on Instagram and they see the picture of somebody that's absolutely shredded and they want the 6-pack abs.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
From a nutrition standpoint, what do they need to do? What do they need to do to get a 6-pack abs?
Quickest way to, first of all, that's body composition.
Okay, talk to me.
So I don't care how, abs are an endurance muscle. It's a postural muscle. So I don't care how many crunches you're going to do. That's not how you're going to get a 6-pack. You're going to get possibly some good muscle endurance, but there are better ways. Get some squats in there, number one. From a nutrition standpoint, body composition, body composition will be the number one way you're going to affect. The number one way body composition is affected is by nutrition. Number one. So the very first thing we're going to do is cut added sugars. No more juice, no more sodas, no more fruit snacks, no more sweetened. That you can get really sweet granola bars and trail mix that has candy in it. Let's cut that. That's going to be the number one thing we're going to get rid of. You can increase protein, good sources of fat, fruits and veggies, and you're on a good path.
Doc, that's going to get me shredded.
That's going to begin the process.
Okay. So you know what's interesting? What I found coaching-wise, here's what they want. They want to get shredded, right? So I speak to them and I take them with where they are. And then you work from there. Has that been your experience?
You want to get shredded, and so you give
So here's what I'm saying. You have an athlete that you're working with, right?
yeah.
And we know that they want to get shredded. And they'll listen to you. They'll
Mm-hmm.
listen to that game plan. If you tell them, okay, this is how you're going to get shredded. Now, we're trying to educate them around the big picture, performance, health, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, a driver is the fact that they have this goal of how they want to look, and then they'll buy in. They'll buy into the program that way.
Yeah, I did come across that, and I've always found that to be so. I mean, you have these top elite athletes, and a lot of things will speak to them. You're right, especially recovery, reduction of injury risk. But if you can mention muscle gains, improved body comp, for some reason that's like a green light. I'm ready.
Bingo.
What do you need me to do?
Right, right. Let's talk a little bit about injury reduction as it relates to nutrition.
Huge, huge. Well, that's where that post game meal, that's where you're going to be working on recovery. So if you miss that, they call it a window of opportunity, but if you miss a chance to aid yourself in recovery, especially because athletes go into cold tubs, they're foam rolling, they're doing this, they're doing that, there's so many recovery modalities. Do not forget nutrition. You're about to eat.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be perfect, and that's okay. It's about finding the best options with what you've got.
Yeah. If I came to you and I said, okay, I hear you on the nutrition thing. How is it going to improve my performance? Like, give me some quantifiable measures in terms of how it's going to help me run faster, how it's going to help me jump higher, how it's going to help me perform better in my particular sport. What are you saying to me?
So first of all, recovery. So if you're able to be ready to be back on that field quicker, well, there you go. There's some athletes, their recovery rate is only 24 hours. If you take 72 hours, well, suddenly coach is going to put somebody else in the game. So that's a quantifiable action. And we can measure that through markers in the blood. We can measure that through power measurements, such as a vertical jump or a force plate measurement. So I'll know how quickly your recovery is, and then we can analyze your diet and see how it matches up. Another way that it's going to affect you is helping you improve your body composition. So that ratio of muscle to fat in your body. If you can increase muscle, decrease body fat to a healthy level, well, you are increasing your power to weight ratio, meaning you are more powerful at that same weight. That's huge. This is an enormous aspect of sport. So nutrition has a direct handle on some of that. Mm-hmm. And another way to do it is reducing your injury risk, because as I said, you're able to improve on the type and on your muscle mass growth and your quality of that muscle mass growth. Therefore, you automatically can be stronger, powerful, explosive, have longer endurance on the field because you're fueling correctly.
Doc, after that, I'll take those carrots right now. I'll take those cucumbers. I'll take the spinach. All right, I'll take it all right now.
All the whole foods.
I'll take it all. Now, what are some resources that people can access to get really good, solid nutrition information to help give them guidance to support their kids? Is there anything out there that you would recommend?
Yes, I would recommend this podcast.
There we go.
One of the things that I would recommend, that's a really good question. There are some really good podcasts that are coming out. And there's also some that are still using some old school techniques that might not be ideal. But if they pique your interest and they get you excited about nutrition, then you can keep learning more.
Well, Doc,
I don't know.
I understand that you have a company. How can we find out? How can we find out more about your company?
So we are slowly building our website. So it isn't released yet, but I have a company. My partner is a strength coach, and so we are called Embodied Health and Performance. And you can email us at embodied EMBODIEDHP @gmail.com for more information. But basically, we work with all sorts of populations on using exercise and nutrition to optimize health, performance, and recovery. And we work with medical professionals, we work with athletic professionals, we work with elite and pro. So we're all over the place. High school we've worked with. So
And
yeah.
Dr. Cathy has also served as a consultant to my company, Carlisle Performance Systems, in servicing the National Football League football officials. She's done a phenomenal job in helping me support them, as well as the Pac-12 football and baseball officials, baseball umpires, football officials. Doc, as we come to a close, tell us a little bit about your new role at Jacksonville University.
Oh, it is so exciting. So, Jacksonville University, I'm in the kinesiology department. We've got some brilliant minds in there. And the exciting thing is that everybody is eager to start working together and continue working together. But the main role there, we're teaching classes, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And so the classes that I'll be leading up, a lot of them include sports nutrition, exercise metabolism, exercise physiology. We're also very involved in research. So understanding how exercise and nutrition can affect physiology in different ways. We've got a biomechanist, we've got someone who specializes in exercise physiology from the strength and conditioning side and endocrinology side. I mean, it's awesome. So we've got education, we've got research, and then we also have community work where we're trying to work with the community to also bring awareness and help improve just the folks right in the backyard. And another exciting piece is working with athletic students, so student athletes on campus, and helping them get excited about these topics. Because like you said, not everyone is, but not everyone knows what these things can do for you. And until you know, you're not going to be excited about it. So bringing awareness, working with some really, really great coaches, excited student athletes, and a wonderful department at JU to help keep pushing that envelope and keep improving and optimizing.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jacksonville has hired a budding star. I can't wait to see the impact that you're going to make on Jacksonville University as you get deeper into it. I'm a fan, always have been. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been great. I'm sure the listeners are going to benefit greatly from all the information that you were able to share.
Thank you. Thank you so, so very much.
As promised, Dr. Cathy Saenz provided actionable items that parents can take with them right now and help to support their kid to maximize their performance on the playing field. We talked about a child not being able to outperform poor nutrition. It's very, very important. Let's talk about a couple things that she unpacked. She talked about what's a high quality protein. High quality proteins are going to be animal sources of proteins. She talked about eggs are the highest quality protein. And the only thing that she would recommend supplementation wise would be whey, which is a great source of protein. She talked about other items such as beef, pork, chicken, fish as being good sources of protein. She talked about supplementation. Vitamin D, if you don't get a lot of sunlight, and the way to identify whether or not you're deficient in vitamin D is to have some blood work done. In addition, she talked about what you should eat before and what you should eat after. She mentioned Twinkies and donuts as a no-no. Yet, before games, I often see kids eating those type of snacks to fuel them before a game. And we know for every high, there's a low. It's been my experience that nutrition is one of the most challenging areas for student athletes to wrap their minds around and have the discipline to execute. And Dr. Cathy Saenz gave some great actionable items that students, if they take hold and parents take hold, it's going to help them improve their performance. As always, our goal is to impart knowledge to parents to help them support their athletic children. If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, please subscribe. It's easy to do and it's easy to share. Just tap on the 3 dots on the bottom right-hand corner and an option will appear that says share episode. You can text a friend the episode right there. If you think it can help them, it's super simple. To find out more about our programs that can help your child, please visit carlisleperformance.com to register for an upcoming program to help your child get better. In the meantime and between time, Have a blessed day.